Some unwelcome news for Americans already grappling with price hikes. The U.S. Federal Reserve's chair is now warning that the threat of persistently high inflation has increased. In a testimony before the Senate Banking Committee, Jerome Powell said it is time to retire the term transitory for describing the burst of inflation. The annual inflation rate in the U.S. hit 6.2% in October, the highest in 31 years. The situation has been blamed on supply chain bottlenecks and shortages of goods and workers. Consumer confidence also fell in November to the lowest level in 9 months because of worries about high inflation and a potential resurgence of COVID-19. As costs of everyday items like food, gas, and rent quickly rise ahead of the holiday season, many in the U.S. are without jobs. Businesses there currently have nearly 5 million fewer people under collective payrolls than they had before the pandemic. Let's give you some insight for that story through the help of Mr. Jason Unruhe. He's a political commentator who comes to you live via Skype out of Ontario. It's good to see you, Jason. Tell me what you think about the piece that I just read.
Well, I think that this inflation will eventually even out in the end. Right now, this very much is a supply chain issue. Obviously, when you cannot move products according to demand, naturally by market forces, this declares that the prices have to go up. This is a simple supply and demand. However, it doesn't really actually have to happen. They could continue to sell them at the same price. It's just the anarchy of the market that causes this to happen. Now, obviously, the supply chain issue will be solved one way or another given enough time. These prices will come back down. It's just that there's been a sudden spike in demand when the supply isn't at its optimal because of the prolonged shutdown, because of so many people missing, there were being so many vacancies in jobs, etc. And then on top of it, you drop the Christmas rush on top of it, and that just boosts demand even higher. Now, all of this obviously is an undesirable event. I mean, no one wants inflation to this degree. Obviously, some inflation is good because it means there's been an expansion of the economy. However, in this case, it has gone too fast. It's gone too great due to the supply chain issues. But it's not going to be a permanent situation. Inflation is going to go back down eventually because it is only a supply chain issue. So once that gets resolved, everything's going to go back to relatively normal. I mean, we're probably still going to be within the complications that arise from COVID, but the situation will eventually thin itself out.
How do you get along with this comment by Jerome Powell, before the Senate Banking Committee that says we need to retire the transitory term, when we talk about American inflation?
Well, I'm not exactly certain what it is that he means by that. I mean, obviously, when you're in a situation like not just the United States, but the entire world is in right now, almost the entire world is going through a period of inflation, as is Canada, as is the UK, as is many countries around the world. It seems like this is really just political posturing and not something based on the actual economic policies that he wants to go through. This almost seems like political point scoring, trying to make the other side look bad as opposed to coming up with real solutions. Obviously, when you have a situation like this in the United States, there are measures you do have to take in order to secure the economy. That was the reason for the creation of the Federal Reserve, to regulate the economy, to try to prevent the worst of catastrophes from happening. This transitory period, if I understand his use of it correctly, is the measures being taken to stabilize the economy right now and to prevent it from falling into a terrible crisis. So I would say not until we've seen a clear period of stability would you want to get rid of any measures that try to stabilize the economy.
Many thanks, Mr. Jason Unruhe in Ontario.